Oh, today I'd like to talk to you about custom fields in Level. This is a new feature that we just added. So I wanted to make a video where we kind of dive in and cover the basics of custom fields. First, what are they? Custom fields are a way that you can store arbitrary information related to devices, and then you can reference that information later in your automations and scripts. I'll give you just a couple practical examples and then demonstrate kind of how you can utilize these custom fields. So let's dive in and pull up what custom fields we have on this account. So here you can see we have some good examples for you that you could reference. We have a custom field that stores the admin user and password for our devices. And we've set a default value here, but we potentially are overriding this value for certain device groups. This is really useful if you're an MSP. You're likely going to have an admin user on all of your devices, but this allows you to change that password that you're using for each of your customers. So you're not using the same password across all of them. Another example would be the BitLocker recovery key. We made an entire video on this, so I'll link to that below, but that's another great use, custom fields. We also made a video covering how you can track minimum standards. So here you can see we've defined some minimum CPU, RAM, and storage standards. And then we have a monitor running on the back end that is going to alert on any devices that deviate from these minimum standards. Some other examples of custom fields, of course, you could store the environment. Is this a development device, a staging device, a testing device, or a production device? And then you can also store, like when was it last backed up so that you could alert if there's an issue there. Additionally, you could store license keys. So imagine you have Sentinel-1 deployed on your endpoints, and you want to define that license key so that you can use it in your automation when you install Sentinel-1 on the device. You could easily add a custom field to do that. So let's take that example and kind of run with it. So I'm going to create a new custom field called Sentinel-1 key. We'll add that. We see that here. And I'm just going to set a default value, call it like global key. We'll save this. Now I'm going to jump back to the device listing. I'm going to pull up a device and we're going to go to the custom fields section here. And we can see all of the custom fields that this device has. Okay. And we can see where these values are inherited from. So right now, the Sentinel-1 key is just inherited from the entire account. You can override these custom fields at the device level, like we are here, or you can also do that at the group level. So maybe we want to have a different Sentinel-1 key for all of our servers or for each and every customer. So to do that, you can jump to the settings for the device group in question, and then go to the custom field section, and then just override that key. So we could say server key. Okay, so now we've overridden that default value. And if we pull up any device in that servers group and go to the custom fields, you'll be able to see that this Sentinel-1 key has been inherited from the servers group, not the account, and it's gotten that server key. So this is really neat. Let's kind of cover how you can use these custom fields. And that way, shown how you can create and define them. So first example here, let's jump in and let's do the AV example that I referenced earlier. So here we have an automation that runs anytime a device is tagged with AV, and it runs on Windows, Mac, and Linux, and it will install our AV software. So let's say we want to update this script. And so you can see right here, we're referencing this hard-coded key. We can delete that. And instead of doing that, we can actually just reference our custom field right here. So we can just click this variable button, and it brings up all the variables or custom fields on our account. And we click the one that we want. So in this case, we want that Sentinel-1 key. So let's save that. Let's do the same thing for our Mac here. So we have this hard-coded key. Let's update it to use our Sentinel-1 key. Save. So now we have a script that's going to reference the custom field based on where that device is. So some of our devices are going to have that global key that we defined. Some of them are going to have the server key. And let's update one to have like a device level override. So let's call this device key. Okay, so now we have three different values defined across our devices. I'm just going to run all of these devices through that AV automation. Okay, so we'll see all of those devices come in. Let's start with this one. I know this one is going to jump to that Linux section. We can see it run, and it should see the server key. Let's see if it gets that. Yep, so it got the server key. This Mac should get, let's pull up this Windows device. This is the one that we overrode with the device key. Let's jump to our history and see, here's a server. So this one should have our server key. It does. Here's a Windows 10 endpoint. Whoops. Let's see if that one has our global key, and it does. So that's one example. Let's pull up our setup automation. And so here we have an automation that sets up a new computer. It does a bunch of stuff. It adds the admin user, it joins it to a domain, sets up the firewall, installs AV. But if we pull up this first action, you notice like we've, again, hard-coded the admin and the password that we're using. And instead of doing that, we can reference our custom field. So admin user, I want that to be admin user as well. And then our password, instead of hard coding that, we'll reference our custom field. That's another example of that. All right, jumping back, I referenced the BitLocker example. We have a whole video on this, so I won't go into detail here. But essentially, we have anytime we tag a device with encryption or with encrypted, this pipeline is going to run. And additionally, it's going to run monthly. And what happened is we have this script that is going to check, is BitLocker enabled? If it's not enabled, we're going to try to enable it. And if it is enabled, we're going to try to rotate that key. The output of this script is being saved to a variable, which we then use to set that custom field. So that's a really neat example of that. Let me show you the other one with our minimum standards. So that's a monitor. So here we have a monitor that's running with a script that checks our custom field. So let's pull up that script here. Okay, so here we have a script that's referencing these custom fields, and then it's running some commands on the device to see if there's a deviation from what we've defined as our minimum standards and what's actually present on the device. If there is a deviation, we generate an alert. So we pull up the monitoring policy for this, we can see we run this script. If the output of the script contains alert, then we create an alert. If that condition, if the minimum standards are being met, then we're going to resolve that alert automatically. I hope this kind of shows the power of how you might utilize custom fields in Level. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out. We're happy to help. Thanks.